I voted.
Hello.
Hi.
Is that Nansu?
Claudio, hi.
Claudio, how are you doing, Claudio?
Good.
So, quick question, Claudio. Did you get Jinx request for the, DataMet server access?
I got an email from Elizabeth. She was trying to handle it with CTRI. She didn't get it yet. So I will try to follow up on this. I'm going tomorrow there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Maybe we can just wait for a couple of minutes for Jeff to call in, and then we'll get started. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. For a minute, I heard no sound.
Do you want us to focus?
Oh. Something, yeah. Maybe we can get started. Hello?
Hey, this is Jeff and Yuling.
Hi, Jeff and Yuling.
Hi.
Okay, so we were waiting for you to call in. So let's get started then. We just want to talk briefly about updates on action items And we had a meeting yesterday with regard to how we would like to update records in the index that the UI connects to, and this is something that was discussed yesterday, so Jeff will talk briefly about that. And also we are hoping to generate some discussion and other suggestions if the plan makes sense. And then we'd like to talk a little bit about the no-cost extension work that we want to initiate, and also talk a little bit about how we would be handling issues. So for, again, this is pretty much the same as what we had last time with ongoing discussions that are happening with the CEDAR Commons pilot folks. Again, the meeting tomorrow has been canceled because Eldred sent sample metadata for us to look at. So Jeff and Yuling, will you be going over that sample metadata so that we can test out the system?
This is the ICPSR that's on the slide right now you're talking about?
No,
the other metadata, sorry, yeah, the credits pilots. Yeah, Barack's working on...
Or do you want somebody who's not involved at all to kind of look into that?
Well, I mean, it would be good for someone to look at it once we get the data ingested, but I mean, someone can already take a look at the examples that Yuling created, which I think should be shared publicly now, right?
With the group.
Or that's shared with the group, yeah. So, so if someone wants to look at the examples and can suggest additional examples, or even enter an additional example, that would be useful.
So when you say shared with the group, what exactly does that mean?
The group will come in CEDAR. Name of the group is Belcaddy. I'm sure who are already inside the group, because I only see the group name. I cannot see the members of the group.
So maybe that's something we can ask CEDAR.
So these are the BioCaddy template forms, right, in CEDAR?
Mm-hmm.
And that's publicly available for anybody to look at, correct?
In the group.
Or not yet?
Belcaddy group.
Right now it's shared with the Belcaddy group.
Oh, okay. Okay, so maybe we can email CEDAR folks to find out exactly who is in the BioCaddy group.
Let's see.
So what I wanted to ask was if we want somebody to enter that metadata, and I think they sent probably around 6 or 7 samples, and then see if we can ingest it from our end.
Yeah, hold on.
Because then we can assign somebody to do that.
Get the folder. So that's, yeah. Who has accounts on Cedar right now?
I think I have one.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody else on the team has, but
I can see her personal account, but
Okay.
I don't have.
So the question is, if you log into Cedar, if you see the BioCaddy folder,
okay, let me check.
shared with me.
Trying to see. Okay. Oh, I apparently don't have it. Maybe it was updated.
So in shared with me, you don't see either of the BioCaddy folders? Okay. Okay. You can send email to John again and figure out this permissioning.
Hi, who just called in? So I don't see anything.
Okay. Yeah. So Yuling, I'll have Yuling. We'll send email to John to figure out the permission schemes. But who else? Who were you thinking of testing out the template with some of the metadata that was sent? Because they should create a Cedar account too, and then send email to Yuling and myself just so we can make sure that they get access to the template.
So Elizabeth, do you have anybody that you think could do that?
Not sure. We're moving Nansu part-time onto a different grant, and we don't really have anyone else here besides me and him and Lucilla that's on BioCaddy anymore.
Okay.
We could enter the data, but the question is, if it would be useful to have someone test out Cedar as well.
Right. So maybe I wonder if Jing could do it. So maybe I'll ask Jing to do it, but I'll talk to her offline so she gets an idea of what Cedar is and what the plan is.
Okay.
Okay. So once she puts in the data, enters in the data, you just want her to email,
Well, when she
right?
creates the account, have her send us her account information, like the email she used to register,
Ah, okay.
so we know who to.
Okay. Additionally, we have started contacting repositories. So I have, since we do not know anybody to contact directly at both PCGA and TCIA, we've asked Ian to facilitate the introduction. Ian is also following up with the NDAR folks. And this is for the no-cost extension work. And for Viper, I already contacted Allison, and we are going to be contacting the PI of the Viper project so that we can get some meetings set up with Viper and import folks. I think IEDB, Philippe and Alejandra were supposed to follow up with them as far as ICPSR. We talked to George and he's connected us with the folks at ICPSR that we should be talking to. I still need to contact Fitbit. I got Matt's email address from Ian just today morning, so I'll contact Fitbit to set up some meeting with them to discuss. So the question is, who needs to be on these meetings with the repositories? Because I think it's a waste of time for everybody to be on these meetings. So it would be. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, because so like NDAR and FITBR were the CDE work, right? Mainly about some of the deeper indexing there.
I think all of them will have the deeper indexing because TCGA also has CDEs, right?
Yeah, and that was also related to the GDC and TCIA was related to the subject information across indexes, right?
I think connecting subjects was going to be for TCGA and TCIA as well as import and Viper. But NDAR, FITBIR, and again TCGA were the ones where we are supposed to do the CDE, or which might be easier to do the CDE work just because they already have that information. Right. I think NDAR was also supposed to have patient level data and which were across different repositories. So Ian is probably following up on both of those for NDAR.
Perhaps it's possible to have, depending on the timing, for them to come in at the end of a CDT call, like at 12:30 or something.
Oh, I can try and schedule to see if it's possible to schedule during the CDT call. That would be the first choice, but if not, then we'll have to do it.
Right.
And I'm wondering if we should have, of course, Ian, you, Jeff, and somebody, either Alejandra or Philippe.
Right.
Because I think we'll talk about extending the DATS model, right?
Yeah, extending DATS, and also, what we talked about earlier, how we're actually going to sort of represent that data.
Right.
Because if we have a data set with multiple subjects, do we list all the ages? Do we, again, is it a statistical representation? What are we actually doing?
So, Priyant, are you familiar with the work that Xiaoling did with the CDE?
No. But I can search the documents.
Yeah, I think she
I hope it's documents.
Well, what is it? It's the CDE search?
Yes. Well.
If it's documented, then we can look at the documents.
Yeah, I don't think Xiaoling did a lot, but we can look at the her documentation, and if needed, we can always contact her.
Okay. Yeah. So I did look actually for something else, I was looking through her documentation yesterday. She has left fairly extensive documentation, so I do not anticipate any problems there. So Firat, maybe if you could look into that.
Okay.
And I wonder if you could join these calls. So the first preference would be to have them during the during the CDT meeting. The next item that is reviewing the DAX exports by ICPSR.
Yeah, so we looked through the sort of their DATS export, and they also have a couple other formats. They have DDI format, and so we looked through some of that information, and then we also Yuling went and extracted some sort of CDE summary information from the actual pages from ICPSR. So I think we have on our end, we have sort of an understanding of what their, what their export formats. And so I think, we now are in a position to sort of meet with George's group.
Okay.
To take sort of the next step in discussing how we want to do that. And George's group might be the best first group to do this with anyway. And he mentioned earlier that, they could do that potentially during a CDT call as well. So.
Right. But I think George wanted us to kind of communicate first and with him to determine exactly what Matthew would be doing, and then based on what we decide, then have him call in. So maybe we can ask George for.
Well, I think it's more of a representational question first, right? In terms of how do we want to represent the information.
Okay.
In the index. Because again, if you have 100 subjects in a study, are we putting everyone's age into that, and then is that really useful? So yeah, and so we need to also bring out some of the use cases, like what are the actual queries that we want to be able to do, and we can use some of the ICPSR data sets as sort of exemplars for that.
Okay.
And so Yuling has a spreadsheet that she can share with you, Anu, where she's grabbed some, start to grab some CDEs from some examples.
Okay, so in this, potentially we would be talking to them both about the deeper indexing and the schema.org work as well, right? Because I think ICPSR is probably slated for both the work.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we do some background work before we ask them to call in.
But again, it's really, the main question really is this representation. What's the plan in terms of how we want to represent this information?
In terms of the model, or?
Yeah, the model in DATS.
Yeah.
Well, and also on the flip side, the model in the index to be able to be able to support the queries, right?
Yeah. So yesterday we had a meeting where we talked about how we could do an automatic updating of the records for the repository. So the current workflow of adding a repository is where we actually have a manual dump of the index from what Jeff's team generates to the Elasticsearch endpoint at UT Health, and then this the index is updated. There's a little bit of mapping that's updated manually again, and the source code is updated on the development server, which is actually at UT Health, after which it's again manually dumped to the Elasticsearch endpoint at UCSD, and then we have the DataMed, which is the public BioCaddy website. So this, what we were talking about a couple of months ago was actually how we would reindex or update indices where there's no change to transformation. So this is what we had actually originally talked about a couple of months ago. So we had a meeting again yesterday, and I think Jeff came out with a workflow that maybe, Jeff, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so there's sort of 4 distinct sort of changes of a data source that we have to be aware of. And so as Anu was mentioning, there's the first change where there's actually an update to the metadata. So there's a change in the structure of that data source in terms of additional fields or other things. And that is going to have to go through some, as it currently does, some curation with UT Health, because there it's really making sure the mappings for the new columns are correct, and then the whole source has to be in a sense updated because of that, and so that's sort of the same operating procedure that we're running under now. However, for most data sources, we don't change the data model, right? So we've curated a data source, it's ready to run, and so we check back and say, oh, there's some new documents. So instead of having to go through the manual process, if there's new data, we can submit an add request, and this is really, we talked on Monday about setting up some sort of service at DataMed. Since DataMed has access to the back-end Elasticsearch, that we could set up some sort of processing point, to basically take these add requests and then submit them to Elasticsearch. There's sort of variants of that. So if there's new data, that's pretty straightforward. So there's a new record, and this is something that we can determine. So that new data record can then just be added. If a data record is updated and we have to sort of resubmit the update, there's sort of an intermediary step in that we have to get the Elasticsearch document ID for that, and then we can update that record. The last case is if data has been deleted. So if someone removed a record, technically it would go through the same process. The question, though, is, do we submit a delete, or is this something where we've talked in the past about tombstone pages, right? So, there's a data set that someone once had, and that has now disappeared. so that data set might be referenced somewhere or something. And so the question is, do we actually submit a delete request, or do we modify the record to say that this record, no longer exists, but we still maintain a record of it? And so that's more of a policy discussion point that we can have at some point. I think the two sort of important points to move forward on in terms of the Commons credits pilots is 2 and 3, which is the new data and the update data. Again, because delete, there's some additional policy questions around that. So that was my brief overview.
So does anybody have any comments, questions for Jeff?
No, I think it's good. My question is, I have one question, but not about the architecture. It's really about, Jeff, do you have any idea, how much effort is this? What kind?
Well, I mean, the effort on,
take how many people
determining the updates
keep
and bundling that is, something that would be done on our end, right? And we could also, develop the handler to submit to Elasticsearch. The main question is putting that on the DataMed endpoint and securing it either we'll have to do some sort of that's sort of a technical point that we didn't get to on Monday yet, but how do we want to sort of secure that submission point on DataMed, right?
Yeah, I imagine we're talking about in terms of manpower, how many people needed to actually really updating DataMed. Let's say, because now we still have carry forward, right? Let's say in a year, if we don't have any money allocated around, what's the minimal effort needed actually trying to update DataMed so that we are willing to spend some extra time trying to update this?
Again, you have there are the sort of the two. If you're not updating any metadata, right? Then it's really just the update process, and that requires some oversight to oversee the updates. But then the problem is, what happens if someone changes the metadata that they export?
Yeah.
Then someone has to curate that, or if again, so there is a sort of a lights on only type operation, but it's the same as running the site itself. Who's making sure that that the site isn't crashed, or that the search endpoint was overloaded because a bunch of requests came in.
We'll worry about this later in the year. Okay, thanks.
But just for updating, it's really just, it would be just, there'd be systems, maintaining the system itself, whatever percentage of a person that is, and then, the person just sort of, overseeing the process.
Okay.
Because again, sometimes sites, hiccup when you request metadata from them, and so.
So, Jeff, I remember that you said that there is a firewall for the production server and Elasticsearch endpoint, right?
Well, the DataMed server can access the search endpoint, right? And so, what we had potentially proposed on Monday was that we could submit these add and update requests right, to DataMed, either through a service or some other, we didn't really detail how we would do that. It could also just be dumping documents to SSH. And then there'd be a handler on DataMed that would grab those and then would submit them to Elasticsearch.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't they on the same server, the Elasticsearch and...
No, I don't think so.
They're on the different machines, different servers.
Oh, okay. I was under the impression that they were on the same server. Okay.
No, they're in the same environment, but not on the same server.
Okay. So maybe we can start off, I guess, with primarily 2 for now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And in terms of the deleted data, is this something we need to bring up and have the EC decide on what DataMed should do?
Yeah, we could bring it in as a topic. At least getting feedback as to what others think.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Jeff? Or any other comments?
So for metadata update, if we will have any metadata update in this updating process, I think we need some remapping with the Python scripts, and there are things to do on the PHP files, some iterative stuff.
So if the metadata is updated, then we would go back to the transformation, right? Jeff?
Well, if the metadata is updated, then right now we'd have to go through the same process to update the mapping.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Right. So if there are no other questions,
No.
I do not know why. Let me actually share my screen. I had a link up here, but that's not showing up, which is strange. So, do you see the issues? So right now, both Jing and Nantu have been working on the issues, and if we feel that the issue has been addressed and an email sent back to the issue reporter, then the issue are being closed as we used to do it. But one of the things that we probably do want to talk about is whether we used to, when Xiaoling and Ruiling were here, Nina, Xiaoling, Ruiling and I had a weekly meeting where we would go over the issues so that we could get back to the folks to report back on issues. So there are two things that we need to discuss here. One is we will need to update the people that get when there's a feedback that's sent through DataMed. There are a couple of people who are getting emails, and I think mainly it was Xiaoling and Ruling who need to be replaced now by Firat, you, and Jing. So would you be able to go in there and do that?
So what do you exactly want?
So on DataMed, on the DataMed UI, you have a tab where the user can go in and report issues, right?
Yeah.
Where they provide feedback. And so when they provide feedback with the Contact Us form, it actually deposits the issue directly into GitHub. But the problem is if they haven't included their contact address in the message, that address is not recorded in GitHub. It simply says that this is an issue that's coming from the DataMed feedback process. And so we need the original email of the submitter in order to be able to respond back to them.
So we need an update in this user interface.
You need to update the email addresses of the people that receive this, in addition to it getting deposited in GitHub, that receive this email saying that somebody has sent in a feedback.
So actually,
that used to be Xiaoling and Ruling previously. And that needs to be replaced by you and Jing now.
Okay, we will replace the emails, right?
Yeah.
To be accessed. Okay.
So that you get to know when somebody reports it, and if we need to get, for example, if Jing needs to be able to contact the person who reported this issue, she needs to have access to the email.
Yes, that's right.
So maybe since Nansu is also working on this, you could include Nansu's name there.
Yeah, his email address too. Okay.
Yeah. And the reason that we don't have the email address of the person who's reporting the issue is because then it becomes a privacy issue. So.
Mm-hmm. We are adding Nansu as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So hi, this is Nansu.
Hi, Nansu.
Yeah. So if my understanding is correct, that we should write the email back to the person who submits the comments via DataMed feedback channel, right?
Right.
Okay. Do we have to also post that in GitHub that we already answer the questions or comments by writing directly back using email to the people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you feel that the issue has been resolved, and the person that you get back to actually says that it's been satisfactorily done, then we can close the issue.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just ask them to confirm that they satisfy with our feedback.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So is there any, like, in your email you mentioned that we have to respond them. So is there any formal template or example that we should follow, or I just write the email by my own understanding?
So because the issues so far have always been fairly different, we don't have a standard template.
Okay. So for other comments that are not from the DataMed feedback, so we just review all the comments and give the reason if we think it can be closed, right? Or if not, we just send the people to who will have ability can handle this comment, right? Like a reminder or something.
So,
okay.
So for example, if you see this was opened by Julie, and she opened it directly on GitHub. So if you want to ensure that you're, responding back to her, you can always say @ right? And then once you say @ and say, you click on her name, it actually pings her that somebody has mentioned her in a comment.
Okay.
So you can, if they enter the issue directly into GitHub, it's a lot easier to get in touch with them.
Right. Okay. So at DataMed feedback, can you any respond to the people who send this one by feedback? Or I still have to find the original email address to write the email.
So what I can do is, I think my name was also in there, so I can go in and pull out the issues, the emails of the people for which you are working, and send those to you in an email, or just forward those emails to you. I think that's the only way I can think of. But these are also probably getting recorded in a database somewhere, correct, Firat? Maybe you can check on that.
Yeah, maybe database, we will check that.
Because if they're getting recorded in a database, then we should be able to get that information from the database.
Okay, that's good. So who should I contact with if I want to get the email address?
Me.
Okay. Okay, good.
All right. Because right now both Xiaoling and Reling's UT Health email addresses are no longer valid.
Xiaoling's still available.
So I thought it was just for a month, right?
No, that's for a year.
Oh, it was for a year. Oh, okay.
I actually have to get off early, join another meeting, so I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Also, I think starting next week, if there are any issues that need to be discussed in the co-development team, we will start bringing those up. So, Jing and Nansu, if there are issues on GitHub that you think should be discussed by the larger group, feel free to email me and we'll bring them up in the core development team meeting or the executive committee. Okay? And we have, I think, just about 10 minutes to discuss quickly about the updates from everybody. So for the DAS output, do we have any updates?
I think Jean has a question. Do you have a question about that? You have a question about it, right?
Oh, hi, but now
The web API and that. Are you talking about that?
No, why something?
Anu?
Yeah, sorry, say that again. I did not hear Jing.
The web API standardization to DOTS
Yeah,
format.
yeah, exactly.
So I think we will send a mail to Alejandra. Jean will send a mail to Alejandra about the question.
Okay. So did we get the mapping? I'm not sure that I remember.
Yes, she's working on that.
Okay. And I know the folks at DBMI are working on the data ingestion, are continuing the mapping process. And as far as the ranking algorithms go, did you get anything more from the Emory group, Firat?
The BM25?
Yeah, I know you updated the BM25 algorithm already, right?
No, the development site is updated now. So I want to take a backup of the production. So after taking the backup, I will run the script. The script running is short, but taking backup will take time, I think. I'll take backup of the index.
Okay, and do we need anything else from the Emory group? The UIUC folks already, I actually was in contact with them and have provided them access to our BioCaddy GitHub, and they will actually start moving their repository to the BioCaddy organization. So we will get that soon from them. But from Payam, did you get anything with reference to like source code or anything like that yet, or no?
For now, no.
Okay. So we need to follow up with them. Let me also follow up with Kirk. All right. Any other updates on any of the features? No? Okay. I think that's about it. I have the same list of NCE plans as I had last time, which is pretty much the same, and we discussed this already up front. So is there anything else that we should talk about today? If not, I think we can discuss a little early today. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Nice.
Bye.
Bye.